Welcome to a new episode of Talkin Comix, everybody. My name is John. I am the Chief Creative Officer of Legacy Comics. And we started this new series here over on YouTube to, get in touch with our audience, to talk to other creators who do the same craft that we do, and other writers, other artists, other producers of, just amazing content that is within the geekdom, I want to say, the nerddom of comic books. So on today's show, we have no one other than Afrim Gjonbalaj on the show to talk the legend of the Night Owl.
Young kids that growing up in basements, online a whole new generation. I'ma make mine, so you better go take it. Always they need a new replacement.
Everybody, Afrim Gjonbalaj is here to talk about Legend Night Owl. Thank you so much for taking the time out.
Thank you for having me on. It's fun. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah, I know you're a big proponent of comic books, of the art of writing, of just creating. For anybody who doesn't know, you're an actor, which is awesome. So yeah. You are already a very creative person.
Thanks, man. There is really no other way to do it for me, because I've tried to work all types of corporate jobs and do other things, and it's just not, some things are for some people's soul, and some are not. So the arts are definitely that's for me.
I totally dig that, because I've been a creative person basically my whole life, so I'm all about creating things, and just art in general is I love it. But you're here to talk about one specific book.
Oh yes. The Legend of the Night Owl.
Yes, and the Legend of the Night Owl, now for anybody who doesn't know, is one of the staple books that we launched with during the Kickstarter, and it has taken off, man. Like, it is a great book. What's that?
The feedback's been amazing. I mean, people reaching out of the blue that have said that, making comparisons of kind of classic 90s writers and artists and all that stuff. I won't get too into it because I know you're going to ask, but that was just the first thing that popped in my head. Like, wow, it's just been a great experience so far.
Yeah. So we'll get to Legend of the Night Owl, but what I want to do is I want to go a little bit back in time to maybe your younger self. And I want to talk a little bit about the books that inspired you, that you loved to read when you were a kid, books that really introduced you to comic books.
It's funny because the first comics I ever saw were in my older cousin's collection. So I remember being like 5 and going over to his house, and I'd never seen DC comics before. I'd only ever seen Marvel and kind of Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, the reruns and the cartoons and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so when I saw that, I was like, who are these? They seem weirdly more adult in some way, I don't know, a little bit more realistic than fanciful. So that was my first exposure, the first time I ever actually remember seeing, I believe, Green Lantern and Wonder Woman. I'm trying to go through that like foggy memory of childhood,
Right.
But the first one that I think I picked up myself from like a corner store a couple of blocks away from where I grew up was Batman Shadow of the Bat #1. I remember seeing that, and like that was the first one where I paid money myself to get, and then they had part #2 came out, and I didn't have money, so I was like, please hold on, I'll be right back. I ran home, I came back, it was gone. And to this day I haven't gotten it. Eventually I'll get 1, 2, 3, and 4 as part of kind of like a nostalgic thing, but I have 1, 2, 3, and 4, but 1 is newsstand, 2 is direct, 3 and 4 are newsstand. So it's still that mildly traumatic memory.
Like, no, it was gone by the time you got back.
On my knees. No.
Well, it's funny because it's like I've obviously read Legend of the Night Owl, and I can kind of see where that that dark, um I don't want to say like noir, but it's kind of it's got that gritty feel, kind of like a Batman book.
Yeah, I think
There are I think definitely inspirations within that.
yeah, I would use noir only in the sense that some of these characters, to try to clearly define the heroes and the villains, there might be some challenges there because my goal in writing is not necessarily a goal where it has to be this, but I enjoy within my writing to create characters that have questionable backgrounds or things that happen that would make you question, like, oh, is this bad guy really a bad guy?
Mm,
Is this good guy really a good guy? In
hmm.
guy in quotes
Right, right.
for all characters. And that's kind of like, in my mind, the nature of life.
Yeah.
Everybody, God, what's the quote? I'm grossly going to paraphrase it, but if we knew everybody's backstory, it would be very difficult to have conflict, you know?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so where did you come up with the Legend of the Night Owl story? Is it something that you've been brewing for years, or expanding on and
It's
changing as the years
Yeah,
go by?
it started as a joke years ago, maybe probably around 10 years ago at this point.
Mhm.
Yeah, like 2012 actually, because I had just moved back from California. I'm from Brooklyn originally. So I go visit my sister for dinner. She's married, her husband's there, her two kids, and I bring my mom. And my mom happens to be disabled. She became disabled when she was pregnant with me.
Mhm.
She got injured at her job, and so my niece and nephew were asking, like, why does she walk with a cane? Why does she carry a backpack? Because it's funny, my mom's a little odd, and she carries a backpack. So I try to explain to people she wears it because it evens out the weight of the things that she needs to carry, so she can't carry a purse or a pocketbook because it'll lean her down on one side. So she
Oh,
carries a backpack.
okay,
And so
makes sense.
yeah, so then I started kind of, it just totally came out of my head. I said to them, well, she used to be a she used to fight crime at night, and then she just couldn't do it anymore and she got injured, and that's why she uses a cane and all this stuff. And they were like, what? Oh my, they totally, but it was like the most amazing thing when kids are in that early enough creative stage in their minds where
Yeah,
they just, and they looked at her and they're like, you know
yeah, they're naive. They believe everything.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there's something more to it where I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. And it became this ongoing joke that, oh, I was like, you see her glasses? They call her the night owl. And it was like this whole funny thing. And even to this day, like, we joke about it. I had written about it. If anyone who's listening now would go to the Legacy Comics website and see why I wrote the Legend of the Night Owl, it's totally listed out in much more detail that I could possibly go in now. But such a funny, like, thing that came out of just trying to make my niece and nephew laugh.
Hmm. Hmm. So now that the book is actually out, what has your mom said about it? Has you read it?
The first time she saw the kind of her depiction in the book,
Mhm.
she's like, huh, because I don't think she got like what was happening. I said, yeah, I based the character off of you. And she just kind of took it in stride. And then finally when she saw it is when she was like, oh my God. She's like, who drew this? And then, like, she was getting excited about it and all that stuff. So I think she doesn't know fully the extent of what her character is going to develop into,
Right.
or this character being based on her. So it's a lot of fun. I think she was very surprised.
Well, the reception for the book has been really amazing. I mean, from Kickstarter up until now, how have you seen the response from people who have read the book?
It's been kind of mind blowing. People that I've known for years, that are people I really turn to, and I know that they won't BS me.
Yeah.
they've given stunning feedback, and that feels nice because you're like, oh, those are people I know they're not going to BS me, so they're giving me good feedback. But then I've had people reach out, excuse me, out of the blue, or leaving reviews that, you know, it sounds silly to say, but they're like comparing the writing to Frank Miller. They're comparing the art to early Kevin Eastman, you know, and that's, to me, that's like the most unbelievable compliment that a team could get, because those are inescapable influences that we've all had. So if anything even has a little bit of that, I think that's a huge compliment. Yeah.
I mean, those two guys are amazing creators to begin with, you know, so to be put in the same category is amazing.
It's humbling. Yeah. Cause I'm kind of new kid on the block because it's my first book,
right?
But been in the background and dreaming about this kind of world and creativity. And, you know, sometimes you might be new to someone now, but you've been 10 years, 20 years in the making, wanting to create stuff. So I think that's what's happening now. So if the book is receiving any positive reception, it's because it's really been marinating for a long time in the creativity crock pot, you know?
Right. Well, speaking of the art of the book, you know, what did you what's it like working with Kieran, you know, Kieran Quinn? You know, he's an amazing artist. You know, he's on a couple of our books.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
So well, I'll just say this, it was kind of a crazy thing. So Hank Kwan, who owns Bulletproof Comics, is a very close friend of mine.
Yeah.
And so he and I were talking one night, and I randomly said, hey, I have an idea for a comic. He's like, wow, you need to write this now. Like he was telling me, he says, but you got to get the right artist.
Yeah.
We left the conversation at that. Next day, I'm talking to Patrick, and this is when Condry first came out at the previous label.
Yeah.
A publisher that I was with, Lesser Known Comics. So I said, hey man, why don't we go? I'll introduce you to Hank, and you can, you know, just like totally seeing his success on social media and wanting to be kind of positive about it and be like, hey man, let me introduce you to my friend. You're my friend. Let me introduce you to my friend. So
right.
I bring him there, and we're talking, and, you know, he signs the book at Bulletproof. Hank's like, hey, let me put the book here. He's looking at, he looks through it, and he looks at the art, and then he goes like this to me. And he goes, points at the book. He goes, this needs to be your artist. And the truth is, I hadn't even opened Condry up. I hadn't even looked at it yet. I just wanted to be supportive of my friend who was doing this, who wanted to do something for so long. So I only reference that to say that out of doing something positive, doing something good, you know, with good intentions, did this opportunity come up? I mean, that's how I became involved in Legacy Comics in the first place, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And it's just, it really is amazing the friendships that, you know, we've made so far, you know, throughout the beginning of this company. And it really is amazing.
Yeah.
So
that's how that happened.
So now,
how was it working with him? I'm sorry, I missed that a little bit.
That's okay.
The collaborative process is, I don't know if you call it beginner's luck or whatever, but I think it's like a match made in heaven, because he totally gets what I'm going for. And then even when I see what he does, and I'm like, oh shoot, can we add this thing or make an adjustment? And he totally gets it. And right now it's about as perfect as it can be. Hold on. All right.
Oh, you're knocking on wood. Yeah. Good idea. So now that the Legend of the Night Owl #0 is out, where can we expect the story to go from here? Can you like give us a little preview, a little hint, a little tease, a little something?
Where it ends in 0 is literally going to get flipped on its head in 1. That's all I'll say.
Wow.
That's all I can say. So if you think one thing is happening, prepare yourself, because number one is gonna establish a whole other experience.
Man, I can't wait. I love the first one, the issue 0. I cannot wait for number 1 to come, and because the art is so, the colors that Kieran uses is so vibrant. The art style is amazing, and then just compared with your writing, it's a fantastic book, and I'm so happy it's with Legacy number 1.
I'm happy because the truth is, early on in the process, it was suggested to me to pitch this to a bigger, more well-known, established independent company. And I said to myself, I want to put the time in with passionate people in a small group, because I don't want to get lost in the sauce somewhere else, even if it's a good idea. I'd much rather do it with passionate people from the ground up. And then that way, I'm learning as I go. I just got accepted into the David Lynch screenwriting MFA program.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. And that was from taking The Legend of the Night Owl and kind of converting it into a screenplay for the admission process.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I said, hey, to be perfectly honest, I bring that up to say that with COVID, with everything that happened, like, if you get number 1, you'll read in the beginning how this all kind of happened through the course of COVID, and just believing in myself and taking a chance and not putting myself in the mind state of feeling limited.
Yeah.
So I said, let me apply to this program. And I took Night Owl. I took the full arc of what I had written, converted into a screenplay, sent it in. And so I just don't want to limit myself, and I don't want to limit myself in my writing either. So expect that.
That's great. That's great. Out of curiosity, how many issues of Night Owl do you already have written?
5.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I have the 6th, but I'm still tightening up some elements of that, because it's gonna end on a crazy in classic comic book writing fashion, there's gonna be a nice
cliffhanger.
So
yeah. Okay. All right, Afrim. We have reached the section of the show where I like to call the segment of Truth and Justice. All right. So now let me explain this to you. This is a segment of Truth and Justice where I will ask you 3 questions. Okay. And you answer them to the best of your ability.
Okay.
What superhero would do the best at the career that you have now?
What superhero would do the best at the Mystique?
You think she'd make good
acting?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's really transforms into her roles. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. That's a great. Yeah, that's a good.
Mystique is basically Christian Bale.
Right. All right. So, question number 2: if you gain superpowers, who is the first person you would tell? Would you tell anybody?
In true Peter Parker Spider-Man fashion, I think I'd have to keep it to myself for as long as I possibly could. Yeah.
Okay.
My fiance would have to be my Mary Jane, so I would eventually tell her, but it would have to be revealed in such a way that I was like changing, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh shoot, got caught. Right. Come in, beat like just smashed up from fighting crime.
Yeah. You could always just say you got jumped in an alley or something.
That's true. Yeah. This beard would be difficult to put under the mask. It would just be a big puff under there.
All right. So last question is, would you rather be a sidekick or an evil henchman?
Oh, sidekick. Yeah, because
Yeah.
then I would help to develop the main hero's storyline if something were to happen to me, you know?
Because you're a good guy at heart, you know.
Yeah.
You want to stay on the good side.
Yeah, exactly. Unless I could be a foot soldier in the first Ninja Turtles movie, like Sam Rockwell, then I'd be like, all
Right.
right, I'll do it.
Oh God.
As a sidekick, you get that thing where you're like, do better than me, and then you die, and then the superhero's like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. But it kind of sucks being a sidekick because they always use you like a human shield, you know, kind of thing. You know, all
Unless
right,
you're
you go in the
unless
room first, you know.
yeah, unless you're Kato from the Green Hornet, then
Yeah.
you're a beast. Then you're
Yeah.
technically better than the main hero.
Yeah. Kato always kicked ass. But all right, everybody, make sure you head on over to legacycomics.com to get some Legend of the Night Owl books. Head on over there, get your own book. And I think Patrick and I spoke about this, where we're trying to work in a feature to the website where you can actually buy signed books through the website. So look for that soon. But if you want to get your hands on the Legend of the Night Owl, head on over to legacycomics.com. And Afrim will be at ZoloCon this July 23rd and 24th. So I am super excited to share a hotel room with you. No, all jokes aside, ZoloCon is a gaming and toy convention. We are showing our faces there and trying to give you guys as many books as possible. The Legend of the Night Owl will be there. Athos will be there. Condry will be there. The Job will be there. All of our books will be there. And some of the creators, I'll be there. I create Athos. I will sign your books. Afrim will be there. He will sign your books. Patrick will be there. He'll sign Condry. So
I'll use one of these many colors.
yeah, and I just bought these metallic ones. So
I like those.
yeah. So stop over at ZoloCon if you're going to be in the Pennsylvania area, July 23rd and 24th. Head on over and come see us. All the links to everything we spoke about today are in the show description down below, so go check it out. Afrim, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Peace.